Island in Hampshire. Last night, 19-year-old Stuart Randall was taken to hospital, but is now back in police custody. He's accused of murdering 23-year-old Robert Holman from Emsworth. He died in hospital. It followed an alleged fight which broke out alongside a burger van on Hayling Island. A Coast Guard helicopter was used to make arrests. A £100,000 yacht stolen from the River Fowle in Cornwall has turned up off the Dorset coast. Police believe she may be the latest victim of a self-styled pirate who's been plundering the British and French coasts. Shelley Hunt has this report.
Noah's Jest is now safely back in the hands of her owners, 5 days after she vanished from her mooring in Cornwall. She was found abandoned near Lulworth Cove. Police think she was probably stolen by a Frenchman, Thierry Joubin. The 20th century pirate is believed to have been responsible for the theft of several top-of-the-range yachts from the Cornish and Brittany coasts over the past 3 years. The owners say they were shocked to discover their boat was missing.
I couldn't believe that it had been taken, because one hears that boats are broken into, but so rarely are they ever actually pinched and taken. But then it emerged that there was a story that they believe there is a Frenchman who is known to be doing this in the West Country, and then things started fitting into place.
It's understood several items believed to have been taken from other stolen yachts have been found on board. Police will carry out a thorough search of the aptly named 36-foot Rustler before she returns to Cornwall. Shelley Hunt, TVS News, Poole.
A public inquiry is opening today into a controversial bypass scheme in Wiltshire. The road would be built around the village of Downton near Salisbury, but villagers are opposed to the plan because the developers would be allowed to build 400 new homes as well as constructing the road. They fear the development would place an intolerable strain on local facilities.
I think this is the biggest single threat to this village in history going back over 1,000 years. If you think about it, this village has been 1,000 years growing to the size it is today, and it looks as though it's going to be doubling in size if they had their way in a decade, and I think that's an absolute disaster for all concerned.
The wrangle has continued for the past 4 years with a series of inquiries and appeals. Wiltshire Police will today distribute thousands of leaflets among travellers saying there will be no festival at Stonehenge over the summer solstice. Last June, 1,000 travellers camped near Andover during the summer solstice. Few made any attempt to get near Stonehenge. Police made 4 arrests but said their security operation had been very successful. And that's all from me for the moment. I'll be back with an update at 11:55.
And now here's our TVS weather forecast. A brighter, drier day with morning sunshine giving way to cloud and scattered showers, mostly inland. The maximum today, 18 degrees Celsius. It'll be cooler over the mistier coasts with light southwest breezes. That's the weather.
The introduction of some Western animals to Australia was a disaster.
A year ago we were here in the thick of an enormous eruption of rabbits. Absolutely enormous eruption. Inconceivable to people who haven't seen it.
However, one of the locals hopped onto the bandwagon.
In order to thrive, these animals need grass and water, just like sheep. And so what the grazier provides for his sheep is a bonanza for the kangaroos.
Nature One.
Lunchtime news at 12:30, the new light bulb that will last up to 20 years. But that's it from me for the moment. Good morning.
Good morning. Dorset police are investigating the murder of a young barmaid at Bournemouth. The body of 26-year-old Jane Harville was found in her bedsit flat. Miss Harville lived at Alumchine Road in Westbourne. A post-mortem examination showed that she'd been killed by repeated blows to the head. She worked at a local wine bar. Raiders drove straight at a woman police constable while escaping in Reading. The officer who'd tried to stop their car just managed to jump out of their way. The raid on the Dixon store in Broad Street is the second robbery in 2 days, where stolen VW cars have been used to smash in the shop front. The gang escaped with around £9,000 worth of electrical goods. A teenager is due before magistrates charged with the murder of 23-year-old Hampshire man Robert Holman from Emsworth. He died from stab wounds after an incident near a burger van on Hayling Island. A Coast Guard helicopter was brought in to make arrests. 19-year-old Stuart Rendell from Hayling is accused of his murder. A Hampshire man at the centre of a row about medical treatment is being cremated today in the Philippines. 55-year-old Brian Haggart died after contracting a spinal infection. It's alleged that Foreign Office officials halted moves to fly him home for treatment. Southampton MP John Denham is demanding an inquiry into the Foreign Office's actions. Protesters have staged a demonstration against plans for a bypass around Downton in Wiltshire. A public inquiry opened today into the scheme, which would include permission for several hundred new homes. But villagers fear the development would place an intolerable strain on local facilities. There's been a series of inquiries and appeals over the last 4 years, and 2 years ago, more than 90% of residents voted against the plans. That's the midday news from TVS. I'll be back with an update in just over an hour's time at 1:10.
And now here's our TVS weather forecast. A brighter, drier day with morning sunshine giving way to cloud and scattered showers, mostly inland. The maximum today, 18 degrees Celsius. It'll be cooler over the mistier coasts with light southwest breezes. That's the weather.
Welcome back. The sun has been shining here all morning. Fred goes on the weather map. It starts to rain, or it looks like it. Is it raining now, Fred?
It's actually dry, Richard, but it's gone an awful lot more cloudy, but it's very mild out here. And what I was looking at before, you can't actually see it. I haven't got a camera out here. But there's a swarm of jellyfish around here. It's all like they're looking for me to see what the weather's like. See, it's the warm waters around Britain now. The jellyfish move north, and some of them are quite large. Right, let's start with the north of Scotland. For you.
Good afternoon. A team of detectives are hunting the killer of a 26-year-old barmaid in Bournemouth. They described the murder of Jane Harville in her bedsit as particularly brutal. She'd been repeatedly hit about the head, as Fiona Oates reports.
26-year-old Jane Harville died after being brutally beaten about the head in her first-floor bedsit home in Alumchime Road, Westbourne. Her body was discovered by her landlord at 4:15 yesterday afternoon in a pool of blood. Police say she was alive at 7:30 in the morning because she spoke to a friend. 8 hours later, she was dead. Police say she may have recognised her attacker and haven't ruled out a sexual assault.
There's no indication to say that she was raped at the present time. There is a suggestion there may be a sexual motive involved in this crime. We are totally reliant on forensic tests at the moment, and it's important we wait for those fine judgments.
Forensic teams are now at the scene. They suspect the flat has also been ransacked. Police are now warning people in the area to ensure doors are locked, and they're appealing to the public for help. They say someone must have seen the murderer leave the bedsit between 7:30 and 4:15 yesterday. Fiona Oates, TVS News, Bournemouth.
A teenager has appeared in court charged with the murder of a man at Hayling Island in Hampshire. Last night, 19-year-old Stuart Rendell was taken to hospital, but this morning was brought before magistrates. They remanded him in custody for 24 hours to enable police inquiries to continue. He's accused of murdering 23-year-old Robert Holman from Emsworth. He died in hospital. It followed a disturbance near a burger van on Hayling Island. A Coast Guard helicopter was used to make arrests. A Hampshire man at the centre of a row about medical treatment is being cremated today in the Philippines. 55-year-old Brian Haggart died last week after contracting a spinal infection. It's alleged that Foreign Office officials halted moves to fly him back to Britain for treatment. Southampton MP John Denham is calling for an inquiry into the role of the Foreign Office before Mr. Haggart's death. Raiders drove straight at a woman police constable while escaping in Reading. The officer who tried to stop their car just managed to jump out of their way. The raid on the Dixon store in Broad Street is the second robbery in 2 days where stolen VW cars have been used to smash in the shop front. The gang escaped with around £9,000 worth of electrical goods. Yesterday, 3 stolen Golf GTIs were used to snatch camcorders worth £6,000 from Technotrade in Reading. An 85-year-old Hampshire woman is recovering after a mugger broke her arm while snatching her purse. The pensioner was so determined to hang on to her possessions, she was dragged for 30 feet along a driveway in Basingstoke. The attacker then threw her to the ground and ran off with the purse containing about £25. He's described as white and between 5'9" and 6 feet tall. He was wearing a long anorak with the hood up. The police want to speak to anyone who saw him. Protesters staged a demonstration this morning against plans for a controversial new bypass in Wiltshire. The road would be built to take heavy traffic around the town of Downton near Salisbury. Keith Malone reports.
A public inquiry opened today into the scheme, which would include permission for up to 400 new homes. But villagers fear the development would place an intolerable strain on local facilities.
I think this is the biggest single threat to this village in history going back over 1,000 years. If you think about it, this village has been 1,000 years growing to the size it is today, and it looks as though it's going to be doubling in size if they have their way in a decade. And I think that's an absolute disaster for all concerned.
There's been a series of inquiries and appeals, and 2 years ago more than 90% of residents voted against the plans.
I hope very much that the new inquiry will endorse the former Secretary of State's decision that this proposal should not go ahead. I think that although there would be clear gains, there would be more housing, people argue not the right kind, perhaps the schools would benefit substantially from it, it would undoubtedly change the character of the village, and that is what people are protesting so strongly about.
The plan is to build the road and new homes across 40 acres of fields outside Downton. But residents fear much more development would follow in the next 10 years. Today, the developers, who would build on land owned by Lord Radnor, were unavailable for comment. Keith Malone, TVS News, Downton.
The Basingstoke company, which makes money by printing banknotes, has seen its profits go up in the last year by almost a third. De La Rue made £76 million before tax. The company also specialises in forgery-proof cup final tickets and making cash dispenser machines. Fears that career prospects in the armed forces have been damaged by government defence cuts are to be raised in the Commons this afternoon. Gosport MP Peter Viggers will ask Defence Secretary Malcolm Rifkind for reassurance that the armed forces still provide a viable career structure despite tough budget cuts. From Westminster, Brian Shawcross reports.
Mr Viggers says that his constituents, many of whom are in the armed forces, are wrong to believe that defence cuts will kill their career prospects. And he plans to use a question this afternoon to Defence Secretary Malcolm Rifkind to prove his point. But I put it to him, surely these defence cuts were Treasury-led rather than being for the good of the defence of the country.
It would be insane to keep the same armed forces, and therefore we need to revise them, and we need to reduce the numbers a bit, but we must make sure that they've got the equipment. And the thing that I'm very keen on, because concern has been expressed in my constituency, I'm very keen that the armed forces should continue to provide a good career opportunity for young men and women. And I think with this equipment and this amount of money going in, it does indeed do that.
Well, Mr Rifkind will no doubt back Mr Viggers' view on this, but he's known to be less keen on radical cuts than his predecessor was. Brian Shawcross, TVS News, Westminster.
Wiltshire police say they'll take tough action against any travellers who try to celebrate the summer solstice at Stonehenge. English Heritage will close the site from June the 17th, and, as in previous years, a 4-mile exclusion zone will be placed around it. The Deputy Chief Constable of Wiltshire said travellers heading for the stones will be given leaflets warning them to stay away.
Wiltshire doesn't want confrontation, it wants peace and quiet, quite frankly. But we're not going anywhere. But if travellers decide they are going to come to Wiltshire for a festival at Stonehenge, then they should know and must know in advance that they are likely to be breaking the law. And inevitably then they must accept the consequences of that.
Well, our cricket and Hampshire's weakened attack have found it hard going against Yorkshire at Basingstoke. Yorkshire have started well, scoring 87 for 1 from 34 overs. At Hove, the Warwickshire batsman Roger Twose was forced to retire hurt after being hit in the face by a bouncer from Franklin Stevenson. Warwickshire are 95 for 1 from 28 overs. And at the Oval, Derbyshire are 81 for 1 against Surrey. And that's the lunchtime news from TVS. There'll be an update from us at 3:20 this afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, a bit of a respite today to let us get some cricket in between the rain yesterday and showers coming along for tomorrow. But then the weather probably tidying itself up for the weekend. Let's start with the satellite picture, and there's the rain that we had yesterday. That's moved now up over Scotland. It's all very slow moving. There is another band of showers which is pushing slowly north. That should clip Kent and East Anglia as we go through the afternoon. But it's this area down over Biscay that we're watching. That's coming up, bringing us some showers for tomorrow, probably for tomorrow afternoon. But for the rest of this afternoon, it's patch of cloud and sunny spells. The sunshine a bit on the hazy side with a layer of thin upper cloud there. There will be a scattering of showers around, generally light. Now, temperatures up to 19, that's 66 degrees Fahrenheit, with the winds a light west to southwesterly. Tonight, most of us are going to be dry right the way through the night. It'll be a bit misty after midnight. May even be the odd fog patch as we get through to dawn. Temperatures falling to 11, that's 52. Down in Dorset, though, as we approach dawn, we could see perhaps the first of those showers pushing in and cloud pushing into the region. Tomorrow morning, that cloud will continue to push its way right the way across. There could be some early sunshine for Sussex and Surrey. There'll be a scattering of showers around, but during the afternoon, more of those showers coming through. Some of them could be on the heavy side, but perhaps a little bit of sunshine between the showers. Temperatures around 17, that's 63, with the winds a light southwesterly. Now, looking into Thursday, a much brighter day, sunny spells, a fair amount of sunshine around, perhaps 1 or 2 showers for the afternoon. Temperatures around 18, that's 64, with the winds this time from the northwest. That's all from me now. Good afternoon.
When it comes to asking questions which appear to be black or white, some people just don't like giving the answers. In fact, they can be quite negative.
Get alone. Leave that alone.
Producing the evidence and breaking the story. The Cook Report, tomorrow with...
A grieving Sophie is coping under the circumstances. Next.
Good afternoon. A team of detectives are hunting the killer of a 26-year-old barmaid in Bournemouth. They described the murder of Jane Harville in her bedsit as particularly brutal. She'd been repeatedly hit about the head, as Fiona Oates reports.
26-year-old Jane Harville died after being brutally beaten about the head in her first-floor bedsit home in Alumchime Road, Westbourne. Her body was discovered by her landlord at 4:15 yesterday afternoon in a pool of blood. Police say she was alive at 7:30 in the morning because she spoke to a friend. 8 hours she was dead. Police say she may have recognised her attacker and haven't ruled out a sexual assault.
There's no indication to say that she was raped at the present time. There is a suggestion there may be a sexual motive involved in this crime. We are totally reliant on forensic tests at the moment, and it's important we wait for those fine judgments.
Forensic teams are now at the scene. They suspect the flat has also been ransacked. Police are now warning people in the area to ensure doors are locked, and they're appealing to the public for help. They say someone must have seen the murderer leave the bedsit between 7:30 and 4:15 yesterday. Fiona Oates, TVS News, Bournemouth.
A teenager has appeared in court charged with the murder of a man at Hayling Island in Hampshire. Last night, 19-year-old Stuart Rendell was taken to hospital, but this morning was brought before magistrates. They remanded him in custody for 24 hours to enable police inquiries to continue. He is accused of murdering 23-year-old Robert Holman from Emsworth. It followed an alleged fight near a burger van on Hayling Island. A Coast Guard helicopter was used to make arrests. A Hampshire man at the centre of a row about medical treatment is being cremated today in the Philippines. 55-year-old Brian Haggett died last week after contracting a spinal infection. It's alleged that Foreign Office officials halted moves to fly him back to Britain for treatment. Southampton Itchen MP John Denham is calling for an inquiry into the role of the Foreign Office before Mr Haggett's death. An 85-year-old Hampshire woman is recovering after a mugger broke her arm while snatching her purse. The pensioner was so determined to hang on to her possessions, she was dragged for 30 feet along a driveway in Basingstoke. The attacker then threw her to the ground and ran off with the purse containing about £25. Raiders drove straight at a woman police constable while escaping in Reading. The officer, who tried to stop their car, just managed to jump out of the way. The raid on the Dixon store in Broad Street is the second robbery in 2 days where stolen VW cars have been used to smash in the shop front. The gang escaped with around £9,000 worth of electrical goods. Yesterday, 3 stolen Golf GTIs were used to snatch camcorders worth £6,000 from Technotrade in Reading. Wiltshire police say they'll take tough action against any travellers who try to celebrate the summer solstice at Stonehenge. English Heritage will close the site from June the 17th, and as in previous years, a 4-mile exclusion zone will be placed around it. The Deputy Chief Constable said travellers heading for the stones would be given leaflets warning them to stay away.
Wiltshire doesn't want confrontation, it wants peace and quiet, quite frankly. And we're not going anywhere. But if travellers decide they are going to come to Wiltshire for a festival at Stonehenge, then they should know and must know in advance that they are likely to be breaking the law, and inevitably then they must accept the consequences of that.
The Borough Council at Reading and the Hampshire-based DIY chain...
Skipper Colin Hendry's not ready to pack his bags just yet.
At the third stroke, the time will be 6 o'clock precisely.
The team, Fred Dinage and Debbie Thrower. They'll be bringing a new meaning to local news, reporting on what's important to you as it happens, the things that affect your life in your area, bringing local news closer and closer to your home.
At the third stroke, the time will be 6 o'clock precisely.
The team, Andy Craig and Mai Davis. They'll be bringing a new meaning to local news, reporting on what's important to you as it happens, the things that affect your life in your area, bringing local news closer and closer to your home.
At the third stroke, the time will be 6 o'clock precisely.
The team, Mike Devons and Alison Holloway. They'll be bringing a new meaning to local news, reporting on what's important to you as it happens, the things that affect your life in your area, bringing local news closer and closer to your home.
trotting up into the penalty area here. And that was Hendry. And it's going to come back to jury. Oh, brought down by Björnevi, but where was it? Referee says outside. The Hungarian referee raced to the...
Good morning and welcome to New Year's Eve here on Southern. In 25 minutes, our film Africa, Texas Style, starring John Mills, Hugh O'Brien and Nigel Green, all about a rather unusual attempt to preserve Kenyan wildlife. We'll be going out of town with Jack Hargreaves at 11:30. And at 12, programmes for younger viewers begin with Little Blue. Right now, we're off to the Lost Islands.
Had a wonderful idea to bring children from all places with all kinds of faces.
Weapon. So when we went behind, there was no option. We had to. So okay, the substitution was successful.
Well, it's a little song about the people who are taking over Southern television. There is this tremendous confusion, I know, because all they've done is taken the letter at the front of STV and move it to the back. And as you really know, their name, this firm that he's waiting to take over, is Porter Cabin Television. And goes with, here is a little song about them. We bought a cabin TV, and we can't believe our luck to have got the bit from Channel to North Sea. To be frank, we thought the best would have been to go for Westwood or Yorkshire or even ATV. We have bought a cabin TV, our approach is fresh and new. You won't see us making shows just 'cause they pay. There'll be no more 3-2-1, and crossroads we will shun, well, at least for the first 6 months anyway. We have bought a cabin TV, Gatwood, Boston and Blackstad, and on January the 1st our flags unfurl. Our future is assured, we've a lord upon the board and someone who once did tomorrow's world. We are bought a cabin TV, and the southeast of our patch is top of our list of priorities. It will be all systems go in our Maidstone studio just as soon as we find out where Maidstone is. We are bought a cabin TV, and our paper's brown and cream, not that nasty southern TV, white and blue. And we all say yours sincerely when we finish letters off. Hugs and kisses, Brian Izzard, just won't do. We are bought a cabin TV, and we promise we will change everything so that all is new and vital. The show to alter most will be our nightly Coast to Coast, which is really day by day with a new title. We are bought a cabin TV, and we're dropping lots of shows. I'm afraid to how we all must say goodbye, because we don't know how, but we do know when. It's now, and what people want to know is not how, but why. We have bought a cabin TV, and all that's going to change is the local television station's name. We would change things if we could, but Southern was so good. We've decided to leave everything the same.
Theme, because yesterday at Lewes in Sussex the annual raft race took place in brilliant sunshine. This year, for the first time, it was sponsored by TVS. I skippered the coast-to-coast raft, aided and abetted by other members of TVS from both sides of the region. Nearly 20,000 people turned out to watch us making fools of ourselves, and £15,000 was raised for charity. Watching from a safe distance, Arnie Wilson.
You might think a raft race is just for laughs, but just like charity football matches, there are always some people who take these things terribly seriously, and anyone who gets in the way risks ending up black and blue. Some of these crews had been training earnestly for weeks. But for most of the 51 crews, it was all wonderfully wet and worthwhile. And at the end of the day, the event had raised a record-breaking £15,000. But let's get one thing sorted out straight away. To their eternal shame, our team cheated. Ours was the only raft with an engine. In fact, the coast-to-coast team had two engines. Khalid Aziz, who was announced as the poor man's James Bond, completed the course in the airborne raft he calls an autogyro. He officially started the race from the air and thought he might as well finish it up there as well. No sooner had the race started when the sea gas raft ran out of gas and sank. 5 others failed to finish the course, but the rest rowed, paddled and pedalled on heroically downstream towards Newhaven. And if that feat wasn't enough, they had one harrowing obstacle that sent fear into their hearts and water down their necks. Halfway there, waiting like vultures, the mob at South East Bridge. armed with flour bombs, eggs, tomatoes and rechargeable buckets of muddy water from the river ooze below. The view from the water was chilling, and so was the water. It was like a nautical version of Zulu, and there was no escape. Even the special boat squadron might think twice about going through this lot. Some raft crews put up token resistance with flimsy protection, and there was even the occasional defiant attempt to return their fire. Last year it rained, so everyone got wet anyway. Luckily, it was Ron Lobeck who organised this year's weather and not Trevor Baker. But even in the sunshine, a couple of hours or so on a raft in wet clothes is a chilly experience. Ron, an old salt, knew what to expect and he was dressed for the occasion. But Coast to Coast's media mermaids, Vivian Mackison and Cindy Robinson, ended up wet and cold but happy. Amanda Fisher really went overboard. Her feeble excuse was that she thought someone ordered a boarding party, but she was the only one who jumped. The race rescue craft stood by, but Amanda was fished out and captured. First home were the cyclists cycling sideways, who somehow managed to find their way to New Haven in 1 hour and 1 minute. But it wasn't just speed that counted. The Eastbourne Waterworks Company, who always come up with a good-looking raft, were joint winners of the Best Decorated Raft section. They shared the TVS trophy with this team in Calshot Spit. This was Hailsham Roundtable's 7th Lewis to New Haven raft race, and they're already planning the 8th. And next time, Khalid, who presented some of the prizes, is going under the dreaded Southeast Bridge and not over it.
Absolutely right. I think I was very wise to remain in my gyrocopter, which not only stays above the ground, but according to that, is totally invisible. There you are. Such as the speed of the machine, not even our cameraman could catch it. Anyway, Vivian, I think you had probably the worst luck. Was it as bad as it seemed?
Even worse, even worse. I had so much eggs and flour and water in my hair, I could have made a sponge. It was absolutely incredible. But we really enjoyed ourselves, and I think the crowd really showed their appreciation of the programme. Anyway, I hope we go along and do the same thing next year.
But as her mother Winnie said, the whole family set to work launching your career there, especially Chris's 4 sisters who were devoted to you. Handwriting the bill posters, sticking them up in remote villages, organizing concerts, working on the door, selling refreshments. They'd do anything for you, Mickey, in the 4 years you were in Johannesburg.
Because, Mickey, you became as dear to us as a brother.
We've flown them from their homes now in America. Julie, Maria, Joe, and the baby of the family, only 5 she was then, Jackie. But not quite the fade-out, Mickey, because we couldn't close tonight without a mention of your latest production, in which your wife Chris has played quite a major part. If you just look at that screen, you'll see somebody the most reckon is the most.
I'm the king in the castle. You're the dirty rascal.
Very much top of your pops, your 3-year-old daughter, Natalie. Mickey Mouse, this is your life.
It's nearly 1982, and that means the end of Southern television, so do join us in a moment as we say it's goodbye from us.
At their brewery in Copenhagen, Carlsberg's brewing experts constantly strive to improve and refine their famous lager. But as they consider that Carlsberg is already probably the best lager in the world, they have little hope of success. Oh well. Carlsberg, probably the best lager in the world.
Did you know that Colite is specially made to give you up to 1/3 more heat? Colite, less smoke, more heat.
When you've got a cough that's bigger than you are, you need all the help you can get. Famil Expectorant. A cough medicine that's bigger than your cough. Famil Expectorant.
All over the country, people are turning in early, so they'll be up in time for the winter sale at Debenhams. It's now on. Also open tomorrow, New Year's Day.
Pound of Danish middle-cut rashers, please. But that's not Danish. It hasn't got the Danish. Which means it won't have the Danish.
That's right, love. Only Danish has the...
Because only Danish bacon has the Danish.
Right. And if you want that special Danish, you've got to insist on Danish, the rasher to rely on.
When it's dry, let it warm. When it's dry,
it's gravy granules.
Let it warm. When it's dry, it's gravy granules. Let it warm.
Bisto rich gravy granules make meaty tasting gravy in seconds. For meats that haven't got enough juices to make it on their own.
When it's dry, it's gravy granules. Let it warm.
Win a luxury holiday home of a lifetime. Let Hogg Robinson Travel book your holiday with leading tour operators, and a timeshare in a fabulous villa or one of dozens of other star prizes could be yours. Hogg Robinson Travel give you sound professional advice, the pick of the best value holidays around, and the expert care and attention you expect from one of Britain's leading travel agency groups. Before choosing your holiday, see Holiday 82, free from your local Hogg Robinson Travel shop, or ring this number today.
From Abingdon south to Alton, and from Windsor west to Marlborough, the Newbury Building Society is celebrating a century and a quarter of local service with memories like these. In any of the Newbury's 22 offices, you may share these memories and discover how the Newbury's strong, friendly, local character and high rates of local interest still bring you a lot closer to home.
And it's goodbye from us. And as your host for this last Southern program, here's a man whose bottom half has never been seen before on your screen, but whose face is familiar to you all. One of Southern's most popular station announcers, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Christopher Robbie.
The Herald of the Law, John Benson. Thank you, John. Well, good evening and welcome, and I'm delighted, we're all delighted that you've joined us. And as the moment approaches, and on this occasion I don't of course simply mean that magical moment when Big Ben strikes midnight, but if you like, as our moment approaches, we're going to take a light-hearted, because New Year's Eve is a time for celebration and not for lament. So essentially a light-hearted look back at some of our achievements. Yes, that is the right word. Southern Fantasia, composed especially for us by Jonathan Burton and played there with their customary panache by the Bournemouth Sinfonietta. And I think we should take this moment to thank the Bournemouth Sinfonietta, thank their conductor, Owain Arwell-Hughes, and also their colleagues in the Symphony Orchestra for the wonderfully warm and creative relationship that has built up between us over the years. And also, of course, for the many fine performances that they have given us, both in the concert hall and in this very studio. So, thank you. But please don't go away, because we shall need you when we come to link arms at midnight. So, where are we? Well, I've just said we're here in our main Studio 1. A studio which has seen, my goodness me, during its life, an enormous variety of performance and spectacle. And none greater, perhaps, than when we gave the then unknown Grace Kennedy the star treatment.
Daddy started out in San Francisco, tooting on a trumpet loud and mean. Suddenly a voice said, "Go forth, Daddy, spread the picture on a wider screen." The voice said, "Daddy, there's a million pigeons waiting to be hooked on the new religion. Hit the road, Daddy, lead a common law white. Spread the religion of the rhythm of life." The rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a jingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in your bedroom, rhythm in the street. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. The rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a jingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in your bedroom, rhythm in your street. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. The rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Puts a jingle in your fingers and a tingle in your feet. Rhythm in your bedroom, tingle in your feet. Yes, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. Daddy spread the gospel in Milwaukee. Took his walkie-talkie to Rocky Ridge. Flew his way to Canton, then to Stanton, till he landed on the Manhattan Bridge. Daddy was a new sensation. Got himself a congregation. Built a plan and operation down below. Daddy was a new sensation. Got himself a sensation. Built a plan and operation down below. With the poppy, poppy, doppy, doppy, disputation. Poppy, poppy, doppy, doppy, down below. Flip your wings and fly to Daddy. Flip your wings and fly to Daddy. Flip your wings and fly to Daddy. Fly, fly, fly to Daddy. Take a dive and swim to Daddy. Take a dive and swim to Daddy. Take a dive and swim to Daddy. Swim, swim, swim to Daddy. Hit the floor and crawl to Daddy. Hit the floor and crawl to Daddy. Hit the floor and crawl to Daddy. Crawl, crawl, crawl to Daddy. Skip it, skip it, skip it.
final movement from Elgar's Symphony No. 1, played there by the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra. It was in fact an extract from our Music in Camera series, one of the many, many programs which has been an enormous success over the years, thanks of course to you. So whilst we are looking back at extracts from productions of which we are extremely proud, you too must join the celebrations, because no you, no success. So as we move now towards Big Ben's chimes and prepare to greet the new year, let our toast include a very big thank you to you. Well, now let's charge our glasses. This is the moment that I enjoy, and wish you all a very, very happy new year. It would be nice, wouldn't it, to hope for a prosperous one too, but I'm sure we'd all settle for health and happiness. So, to 1982.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For all lang syne, my dear, for all lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old lang syne. For all lang syne, my dear, for all lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old lang syne. So here's a hand, my own dear friend, give me a hand of mine. We'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for the sake of old lang syne.
So, we're into 1982. No, not yet. Your time will come. They're all there, bustling around in the wings, you know. The Southern Star has not set yet. That moment of drama is still to come. We still have some glorious moments. And amongst those glorious moments must surely be the 12 Glyndebourne operas which we've transmitted, and the manner in which we have transferred those operas to television without interfering with the original stage production has won wide acclaim in the music world. You might say that we have created a style. Well, we're going to show you now an extract from just one of those 12 opera recordings.
Console!